information, all that detail is going to be in her report, not in mine.
You remember a cell phone in the door pocket?
I remember there was a cell phone in the door pocket.
You don't have any knowledge that there's any blood on there or ballistic pieces of metal from a gunshot, do you?
I know it had some type of impact mark, but other than that, I do not.
You didn't see any hair or skin or fiber, possibly?
Not that I recall, no.
When you were at the scene over in West Palm, you said you went there, on 40th and Broadway.
Yes, sir.
Would you agree the weather was pretty cool that night?
Yes.
Breezy?
If I recall, I'm not sure. I'd have to check the notes exactly what I documented it as.
All right, we'll stick with cool. You agree with that?
Sure.
Okay. And when you were at, I know you're the manager, but was CSI Brand basically in charge of her scene, or were you supervising her?
Both. I was acting as her assistant if she needed me in a supervisory capacity, and that means if I needed to liaison between the detectives or the other personnel on scene, ask them a question, get her some information. That was my job, in addition to assisting her with written documentation.
Y'all never checked, meaning crime scene or any of the police officers, checked the roofs of the buildings, adjacent buildings to this parking lot, did you?
Myself and CSI Brandt did not. If Road Patrol did, I'm not sure. You'd have to ask them.
You don't have any knowledge of that, do you?
I do not.
Remember the fenced-in areas that were connected to the building of the auto shop?
Yes, sir.
And do you remember a food truck behind the fence on one of the areas? If I'm facing the building, to my left would be a fenced area and a food truck?
I do recall, yes.
Were you go behind that fence and look for any type of evidentiary value evidence?
I did not.
You don't know if there was a gun thrown back there or?
I do not. None of that information was brought to my attention. Again, still free-flowing. Information is always coming forward, but that was not information that was relayed to me.
And the other fenced-in area, did anyone search that to your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge.
You guys have drones that can go on roofs, so no one has to climb. You can actually get a drone to check if anything of evidentiary value may have been thrown on a roof, right?
The crime scene unit doesn't, but the sheriff's office does. Again, that's not my call to make.
Nobody gave you guys information about the first responding officer saying he saw two silhouettes back in the area by the fence area and they were not trying to stop them?
I didn't have that knowledge, no.
If you did, would you possibly have looked back in that area?
Possibly.
Did you find out later on in the day that there was a gun found about 100 feet from the actual shooting scene behind somebody's backyard?
I don't recall. I never did respond to the initial scene where the firearms evidence or the casings were located.
You never went there?
I never went there, no.
Is it customary in your business? Obviously, you want to get everything while the crime scene tapes up, right?
Correct.
Because if you don't, things could possibly disappear.
Correct, and it can be extended if need be while even on scene. Sure. And we can hold a scene if we need to as well.
For days if you need to, right?
If we need to, yes.
Could you also go back a day or two later and say, like a detective calls you and say, you know what, I really missed this. I need you to go back and check something out. Could you then go back to, let's say, 40th and Broadway and take a look around to see if you missed something?
We can, yes, as long as there's no type of expectation of privacy or you have to get a search warrant or something. Yeah, yes, we can.
All right. If you have to get a search warrant, the police officers can apply for one, right?
Correct.
Okay. No one asked you to do that in this case, right?
No, they did not.
No. After you left that scene on 40th and Broadway, to this day, Detective Annalyn or any of her supervisors never asked you to go back and look for anything?
They did not.
And no one asked anybody in your department, crime scene, to go look the path of travel where this car went to see if anything may have been thrown out of evidentiary value out of the car?
No, sir.
And if they did, you could have done that, right, if somebody asked you to do that?
Correct.
You also have a dive team if somebody throws something in water?
Yes, sir.
And you guys do that on a routine basis. You send divers in, right, to check for weapons that may have been thrown in water?
It can happen. Again, that's not my call. That would be the Detective Bureau.
Okay. The decedent in the black Cadillac on 40th and Broadway, you obviously had an opportunity to view him, right?
Correct.
Would you agree that the decedent's hand was consistent, or he may have had a gun in it prior to his death based on his right hand's position?
I mean, he may have been holding something, who knows what. I know that first responders did respond, and they did put those emergency patches, or they're called leads, on him. So again, I don't know what his actual position was, prior to or after they moved him or put those leads on him.
My question to you, would you agree that the decedent's hand may have had a gun in it prior to his death based on the way his hand was positioned?
I agree, may have had.
I'm going to allow it.
I agree, may have had something in it. It could have been a gun, it could have been a phone, it could have been something else in his hand. I'm not sure.
You may.
Thank you, sir.
Remember giving a deposition back on September 29th, 2021 in this case?
I do?
I gave you a copy of it.
Yes, sir.
Have you had a chance to read it before today?
I have not.
All right, if you can direct your attention to page 13, read the whole page and even page 14. If you could read 13 and 14 to yourself, please.
13 and 14?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, page 14, I'm sorry. 14.
14? Okay.
I'm not sure. I may be mistaken. It's getting late. Right, directed to the. Did you say anything about the question about the gun in that page?
Yes. It said, let's see.
On page 13 or 14?
On page 14, you asked me something, maybe something known as the death grip. I think that's what you were asking me. Also on page 13, you asked me if I had seen somebody's hand frozen who shot themselves. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, I don't have a copy of your statement. That's the only one I have.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. It's my fault.
Would you like me just to read it? Is that easier for you? Or what? It's
Did you do that, or am I
It's-
kind of get a package?
Why don't you get it back?
okay.
Let's do it
Sure.
properly.
Let me have the back if I can.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Nope, no problem.
Yeah, I was actually telling you the right page. I had the wrong one. Did you read 13 as well?
Briefly.
All right. So you remember telling me back when you gave the deposition that you've seen people's hands in similar positions like that?
I have, yes. You were asking about suicides.
And I said, looking at the photographs of the decedent, does his hand, I know you're not a medical examiner, but does his hand look like he was possibly in a position of holding a weapon prior to his death? And you said, possibly. I mean, possibly. Remember saying that?
Possibly, yes.
All right. Is it consistent with some of the suicides you've seen before, the way his hand looks? The decedent in this case. Yeah, I've seen that. A hand similar to that on suicide cases. Yes. Remember making those statements?
Yes.
So you agree it was consistent, right?
Well, I didn't write that it was consistent. I documented the position of the hand as I viewed it. Could it have been holding something like a gun? It possibly could have. Could it have been holding something else? Possibly as well.
Do you see anything evidence in the car that you examined,
I did not.
him holding something that was consistent to make his fingers that way?
I didn't see him holding anything. I'm sorry, maybe I'm not understanding the question.
Found anything in the car consistent with him possibly holding prior to his death that would have possibly made his hand that way, if you know?
No, there was no firearm located in the vehicle.
Anything else in the car that could have done that, in your opinion?
Again, maybe a phone, maybe there was, I don't exactly remember everything that was found in the car. Again, I'd have to refer to either my notes or CSI Brandt's report.
The lead detective never brought this to your attention, these type of questions, to ask you your opinion, did she?
No.
All right, any redirect? Okay.
I'm trying to understand some of the questions you were asked on cross. You answered in the negative. Did you actually go into the interior of the vehicle on the day that you went to the scene on 4/7, sorry, April 7th of 2021? Did you enter the vehicle?
We just briefly looked at the the passenger front compartment once the decedent was moved. We did have consent to enter the vehicle on that day. Some of the items, for instance, like metal fragments were removed because we were afraid to lose them. Other than that, it was sealed up on scene and then searched at that later time.
And was your role at that time assisting, or were you looking for things like blood-like substances and other things?
I was just assisting. If I saw blood on the outside, I would have documented it. But again, I was just there as her assist in documenting the vehicle.
So then
as I saw it.
Brandt would be the appropriate person to talk about with specific items on or inside that vehicle.
Yes, again, I assisted her with documenting it. All that information is going to be in her report.
How is that separate and apart from the diagram and documenting the defects? Was that done a different day?
Yes, ma'am.
And
Okay.
when you were documenting the diagram, what was going on there? What was your role?
I misspoke. It actually was the same day, but later that evening. The crime scene was very early in the morning, and we started the vehicle around 10 o'clock at night. Again, my role was to assist her. I was outside of the vehicle as she was inside of it, telling me where the defects were located, and that's how I documented them on those diagrams that you saw.
And so if she saw blood on the rear passenger seat or anywhere else, you wouldn't be able to say, or you would?
I don't recall offhand. Again, I'm just writing what she's detailing me because we couldn't be in the car at the same time. That wasn't the roles that we were playing. I was there to assist her. If she needed me to look at something, I did, but I can't recall just off the top of my head right now.
And your role, just to be clear, was documenting defects.
Sustained.
Was it anything else?
Sustained.
Judge, I can't ask if she did anything else.
No. Oh, I'm sorry. Was it, I thought you said, was it anything else?
No, Judge, I was just
My mistake. I'm so sorry. You may ask that question.
I was documenting, yes, the defects, and if she observed anything else inside the vehicle. Those were part of my notes of the interior of the vehicle.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, CS Manager Bronson. You watch your step getting down. Stay safe. Ladies and gentlemen, okay. You don't have to stand back up. Just stay close to a microphone.
Was there any physical evidence in that vehicle that suggested that a firearm was in there? Any casings? Anything indicating a firearm was inside the vehicle?
No casings were located inside the vehicle. I do know metal fragments were removed from some of the defects. Other than that, that's
And what are fragments?
all I recall.
So we understand.
Part of a projectile, the part of that's expelled from a cartridge casing that comes out of a firearm.
Does that suggest a firearm was inside the vehicle?
It doesn't suggest one was in the vehicle. It suggests that there was a bullet inside the vehicle.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Watch your step. Stay safe. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for today. Now, let me fill you in on where we are. We're going to, I'm going to ask you to come back again tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Thankfully, Judge Rowe has graciously decided to assist me by taking my morning docket, so we should be able to get started right about 8 o'clock. The first thing you're going to do when you get in at 8 o'clock tomorrow, after you've signed in downstairs, come upstairs. Deputy Lubinsky is going to give you a menu. From that menu, you will select your lunch that the county is paying for. You're not paying for it. Bottom line is, he'll order the lunch that you order. He'll order for you from whomever it is, Jimmy John's, right? And then whenever that lunch gets here is when we will take our lunch break. You'll go back there and eat your lunch in the jury room. We will eat our bag lunches out here or elsewhere. As soon as you all are finished, we're going to take about a half an hour for lunch. When you're done with lunch, then we'll start right up again tomorrow, so we don't waste a lot of time walking back and forth and wondering where we're going to eat, that sort of thing. Because I fully expect that the state's case is going to be concluded tomorrow, hopefully by the time we have that lunch. But we will see. No, All right, well, we'll figure that out later after you all are out of my voice range. All right, I guess that's it. Please keep and obey keep in mind and obey the 4 cardinal rules. If you happen to see one of us out there, duck and we'll duck you. Please, please, please keep an open mind. You still haven't heard it all. You've heard a ton, but you haven't heard it all yet. No research and no discussion, even amongst yourselves. Leave your pads, please, and we'll see you tomorrow. Remember to go downstairs first, sign up, then come upstairs and be ready to order your lunch. See you tomorrow. Stay safe. Is it absolutely necessary that we hear from that officer? Or is it going to be redundant?
It's not going to be redundant.
It is? Oh, it's not. All right, fine.
But Judge, we'll pound out tonight, and if we can not call him, then we won't. But CSI Ali is necessary, Judge.
I've heard her name enough to know that, yes, she's probably necessary.
We have Detective Farron
Okay.
and Detective Ott, Agent McMichael, Detective Cunningham,
You still haven't even mentioned the lead detective.
Vanderline,
And that's the lead detective, right?
Your Honor, and then Jimmy Palmer, who is the firearms expert.
At the rate at which we're going, we can't even finish this on Friday, folks. How am I going to be able to continue on with other trials? I know Miss Edwards is on one. That's clearly not going to start before sometime next week. How are we going to finish this trial?
Judge, we're moving as fast as we can. I don't know, Judge. I mean, I honestly, I did not think it was going to take us 4 days to get the jury, and then cross-examination, direct and cross-examination was lengthy. And Your Honor, they have their witnesses, and
I know. I haven't even talked about their witnesses yet. We know we have at least one, but it sounds like 3 or 4.
Because we're not calling any, there are 2 witnesses that we have next eliminated from calling. Because we're not calling witnesses who are going to basically get up there and,
Reiterate things others. Yeah, exactly. That's what I.
no, we're not doing them.
All right.
Move 2. So I'm doing CSI Ali in the morning, Judge.
Okay.
And I will be quick. I'm not going to get it in. I'll get right to it.
Good.
The only, out of the witnesses that I named, Your Honor, the ones that will probably be with Detective Vanderline is gonna be probably lengthy, only because she was the lead detective,
Right.
and, Detective Cunningham, who, he collected, he did the phone extractions, Your Honor.
Okay.
So that's just a matter of,
Are there any stipulations that you can reach with respect to extractions and things of that nature?
I think, Judge, I would love to reach a stipulation.
Okay.
I know that there is a phone, which was Sebastian's phone, Your Honor,
Yeah.
that they had for a while, that Detective Vanderline collected. Obviously, it was found in that backpack. And well, Judge, this is.
I didn't hear that. So
Sorry, Judge.
that's okay. Maybe I wasn't supposed to. Okay.
This is the issue with the phone, Judge, is that is that this was not a thorough investigation.
Right, and that's obviously the crux of the defense here.
Yes, Your Honor. And so as it relates to the phone, particularly as it relates to Sebastian's phone, that phone, Your Honor, was given to Secretary Cunningham. He had it for a while. He was not able to crack it. Judge, it could take 22, 23 years to crack a phone. You don't know the passcode. It's standard to know the passcode.
Okay.
And so there was testimony alluding to, not basically being able to get information from some of these phones.
Okay.
And Judge, it's not that we did not try to get information from some of these phones. It's
Right.
that we did, but we weren't able to.
Okay.
And so, I don't even know if we can reach a stipulation on that, Judge.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it seems like you ought to be able to.
Well, that's fine, but there was also Darrell Rudolph's phone that was never examined at all.
Okay.
There was Tyler Robinson's phone that was.
All right. Well, so that's a different issue, though.
And Darrell Rudolph's phone, Judge, there's a reason why it was not, and Detective Vanderline will
Okay.
testify as to why his phone was not.
All right.
Let me just note, the only thing they want to call Detective Farron is to say they tried to break into his phone, they could not, or download it, whatever, it didn't work.
No, Farron is not out.
Cunningham, right.
We can stipulate to that.
Okay.
That's the only thing they want it for.
Well, that saves a few minutes.
Judge, we're not agreeing to accept stipulations on this when the witnesses and their department are being attacked about their failure to act professionally and do their jobs. We have to have them explain what they did. Otherwise, all they'll hear is the information is provided and no context about anything. So respectfully, I'm not sure how you accept a stipulation under those conditions.
All right. Well, tomorrow is day 10 of this trial. I'm going to put everybody on notice, and you all can spread the word. You better start taking a look at the recent 4th DCA opinions concerning jury selection and time restraints put on lawyers for jury selection, rather, because I'm going to start doing that. There is no reason we should be only this far along at this point in a trial. We should be further along than this, a lot further along.
I agree, Judge, and I apologize that we aren't. We're moving as fast as we can. Had 3 witnesses out there. CSI Ali was out there. Officer Kaleo was out there. And since I knew we were stopping, I just told them to be back here at 7:45 in the morning.
All right.
But Judge, we have witnesses here.
Well, it's not just the state's fault, okay? I mean, cross-examination has been rather lengthy on several of these witnesses and somewhat redundant, quite frankly, in the questioning. So, there's plenty of responsibility to be shared for this. I'm not faulting just the state. But the bottom line is all of us should be farther along on this trial than we are. And I've got a lot of trials backed up and another murder trial that's clearly not going to get started on Friday like it was supposed to.
Judge, I'll see what the situation as Detective Farron. I mean, he collected the NIL DVR or recording device, and really all we're calling him for is to because the issue has been raised about the cameras outside, and as Your Honor knows, because you sat through the stand your ground hearing, Your Honor,
Yeah.
that particular device was on a schedule where it was not recording every single day. Detective Farron would testify, as he did. They're not, well, we're not.
That's the witness on that very issue, claiming that there was a recording that was somehow damaged by the footage of touching the item.
All right. Okay. Well, look, do what you can. I'm not going to twist anybody's arm with respect to that. But if you can reach stipulations and avoid unnecessary delay as a result of calling witnesses that really don't have to testify and don't have to be subject to cross-examination, then you should do it. All right. See, yes. Off the record. Sure. Well, there is going to be a record, actually, because there's nobody in recording to turn that thing off. Well, I mean, frankly, the two of you can come back if you want.
All right, that would be my.
All right.
Thank you.
Let them come up here.
Judge, I'll bring him up this way.
Or that way, yeah, go with Deputy Lubinsky, thank you.
Are we in recess? Are we in recess?
In fact, we're adjourned.